Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Mark Janish. This is the November 22nd edition of the From the Bench podcast. I'm your host, Mark Janish. Very pleasant good evening and a happy Thanksgiving to everyone in the United States. It is Thanksgiving weekend in the United States. We essentially gorge ourselves on turkey, yams, gravy, stuffing, cranberry sauce, and whatever else you'd like to add to that mix. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. For those of you that have suffered loss in 2017, definitely will be praying for you and hoping for the best for a better 2018. But what I'm thankful for is that you're listening to this podcast. You've supported me at accessmediaglobal.com. Once again, I'm Mark Janish. And tonight we lead off with some NBA stuff. The NBA stuff. Patrick Beverley out indefinitely. Had surgery today in Houston. And unfortunately, that's going to set the Los Angeles Clippers back a little bit. However, tonight they did break a 9-game losing streak, winning 116-103 over the Atlanta Hawks at the Phillips Arena in Atlanta. Bryce Johnson had 15 points for the Clippers, and Tyrone Wallace had 21 to lead the Clippers. Multiple players made multiple contributions. Very balanced attack tonight, which we can't necessarily say. And gratefully so, the Clippers did blow a fourth quarter lead. At any rate, one of the things I wanted to address tonight as well, the first question of the day. I opened up my phone this morning, and what do I find but a question from a friend of mine, Mr. George Brady, who has appeared on previous podcasts over SoundCloud. Right now, I just want to welcome those of you listening by Stitcher Radio and Libsyn. Those are the platforms that we use. We're definitely looking to upgrade accessmediaglobal.com. You can follow me on Twitter, Mark Janish, Janisch, first name Mark with a K, M-A-R-K, at Access Media. Mark at Access Media. You can join me on Twitter. This will be posted to my website at accessmediaglobal.com. I am the proprietor. I am the founder of accessmediaglobal.com. So hope you enjoy the website, some upgraded NBA pages. We're also working with Gold Social Media of Santa Barbara, slowly but surely getting the upgrades completed. So pretty happy about that. Anything on the NBA front, you can get anything on the on-air front nationwide. From local to national sports, you can go to my on-air page. You also have digital newspaper options along with the sports radio options from around the United States. So if you're out of area, but you still want to keep posted on your favorite local teams you may have grown up with, you can certainly do that with my on-air page. Go there. The Access Media Global started about 7 years ago in the form of a one-page blog. Right now, the current website has been established since March of 2015. We're hoping to make some improvements there, and hopefully you will enjoy that. One of the things I wanted to address, getting back to the question of the day this morning, text message from a friend of mine. What do you think about Chip Kelley? Chip Kelley has announced that Tuesday, he will make a decision between the Florida Gators out of the SEC and the UCLA Bruins, who recently fired their coach after 5+ seasons, Jim Mora Jr., with a 46-30 record and a very poor 11-17 record in the last few years in the Pac-12. Now, the Bruins are going to finish the season at Cal tomorrow. On Friday, I believe, before they go off into the sunset. And we'll find out what happens with Josh Rosen. I would expect Josh Rosen, being the more complete quarterback, to go in the NFL draft because based on previous statements that he's made in the last 2 to 3 months, I don't really think he wants to stay in school. But as always, the right situation needs to be found for Josh Rosen and family and so forth. The Los Angeles Lakers are playing shortly here in the next, I'd say, 10 to 15 minutes. Here, 7:30 Pacific time. They'll be playing the Sacramento Kings. The Lakers are coming off a 103-94 win over the rebuilding Chicago Bulls. And we're going to get to Kyle Kuzma overshadowing Lonzo Ball. Although Lonzo Ball, if we look at it, he's had some good games. He just needs to develop consistency. He's only shooting 31% from the floor, and that will need to improve, a la Jason Kidd. So I figure if he works on it, he should be fine eventually, but fine is not right now. The Lakers are 2-5 on the road and 6-5 at Staples Center for a record of 8-10. Once again, they play the Sacramento Kings tonight at Staples. So that's what's happening as far as the NBA goes. A couple other notes. For the Boston Celtic fans, the 16-game winning streak is over. They got behind to the Miami Heat by 17. They tried valiantly to come back. They lost tonight to the Miami Heat 104-98, bringing their record after 16 straight wins to 16-3. So a lot of good things going on in the NBA. We'll get to more of those things as we move along. I also wanted to cover tonight, I think we're going to start off with some scoreboard stuff in relation to the high school football Southern Section playoffs. Some local teams are playing. There are 13 divisions, so it's going to take me a little bit of time to get through this, so bear with me. This Friday's game, I guess I say, this week's game, all games take place on Friday, and of course the CIF, the California Interscholastic Federation, the governing body of high school sports in the state of California. Mater Dei is going to face Mission Viejo, 12-0, Corona Centennial, and number 3 St. John Bosco, 10-2 at Cerritos College. Both those games, number 1 versus number 1 and number 2, will be at Cerritos College. Once again, Mater Dei 12-0 at Mission Viejo, 12-0. Number 2, Corona Centennial 10-1 versus number 3 St. John Bosco 10-2. Once again at Cerritos College. In Division 2 of the CIF on Friday, Upland at Oaks Christian. Number 1 Upland versus number 4 Oaks Christian. Oaks Christian, a juggernaut as well, out of Agoura, California. They have been moved up a couple of divisions in the last few years just due to the fact that the talent on that squad is tremendous. So once again, Upland 12-0 at number 4, Oaks Christian 10-2. Number 2 Heritage at number 3 Valencia. Both teams are 11 victories and 1 loss on the season. Division 3 in the semifinals, Charter Oaks 12-0 at Rancho Verde 10-2. That game will be at 7 p.m. El Toro High School 8-4 at St. Francis 11-1 in the other semifinal. Once again, 7:30 p.m. Pacific time on Friday. In Division 4, Downey at Capistrano Valley. Downey 10-2. The number 1 Capistrano Valley team is 12-0. And then in the other semifinal, Marietta Mesa 9-3 at number 2 Cajon, who is 11-1. They begin at 7 o'clock. Both those games. In Division 5, Paloma Valley 10-2 versus number 1 Paraclete 11-1 at Palmdale. The Moore Park, 10-2 at Paramount, 11-1. This is of interest to those of you listening in the Santa Barbara County area, Santa Barbara, Ventura, and San Luis Obispo. In Division 6, Tom Crawford and the Bishop Garcia Diego High School Cardinal, a juggernaut in the last 12 years. Tom Crawford, despite his stellar record of over 100 wins and several semifinal appearances, he's appeared in the semifinals 7 times in the last 12 years, and he doesn't have nary a one championship, but that may change this year with a predominantly senior-led team. And one other note, Bishop Garcia Diego is a small Catholic private school in Santa Barbara, California, and they have an enrollment of 290 students. They've been moved a couple times by the CIF. The CIF Southern Section has gotten to a point where they realign schools based on competitive balance and talent every couple of years now. So Bishop Diego out of the Tri-Valley League, they're going to be playing Saugus at the College of the Canyons on Friday. In the other semifinal, it'll be Golden Valley at Maricosta in Division 6. In Division 7, Burbank, 10-2 at Don Lugo High School, 10-2. Number 3, St. Margaret's, 10-2 at El Medina. So Burbank facing Don Lugo in Division 7, Friday at 7 p.m. Number 3, St. Margaret's, 10-2, and El Medina, 10-2. In Division 8, out of Ventura County, Rio Mesa, 12-0 at Antelope Valley, 7 p.m. Grace Brethren, another representative out of the Tri-Valley League, at Silverado in Division 8, 11-1. In Division 9, Aquinas, 12-0 versus Cypress, 9-3. Number 2, Ridgecrest Burroughs, 10-2 versus number 3, Mayfair in Bellflower, California. In Division 10 of the CIF, by the way, that Division 9, those Division 9 games were Aquinas and Cypress, and Ridgecrest Burroughs and number 3, Mayfair will be at 7 p.m. Division 10, Quartz Hill, 11-1 at Apple Valley, who's 12-0. That time will be 7 p.m. Valley View, out of the Moreno Valley near Riverside. Valley View is going to play the Dos Pueblos Chargers out of Goleta, California, another local team that hasn't lost since August. They're on a 10-game winning streak. They have a tremendous defense. So if you go to the Division 10 game, Valley View and Dos Pueblos, be aware that the Chargers of Dos Pueblos, coached by Nate Mendoza in Goleta, California, just down the road from me, about 28 road miles. They're a good defensive team, so it should be a slugfest. Looking for Dos Pueblos at 11-1 to continue good things out of Division 10. In Division 11, Covina at Culver City and Rancho Mirage versus Catella. Rancho Mirage is 9-3. Catella is 11-1, and that will be at Glover Stadium in Anaheim, 7 p.m. In Division 12, from the North County of Santa Barbara, the Santa Maria Saints, 8-4 at South El Monte. Number 4, South El Monte, they were 11-1, and Santa Maria, the Saints, 8-4 in an always tough Los Padres league. Number 2, Santa Ana versus number 3, Big Bear, 10-1 at Big Bear Middle School. Santa Ana 11-1 versus Big Bear at 10-1, and that'll be 1:30 p.m. on Friday afternoon. Division 13, Santa Clara of Oxnard, California versus Orange. Santa Clara is 10-2, and Orange is also 10-2, and that should be at El Medina Saturday, 7 p.m. Westminster La Quinta, 11-1 at Silver Valley, 8-3. The semifinals here in Division 13 will be November 24th, the Friday after Thanksgiving, and the championships will be taking place on December 1 and 2. In 8-man football, Division 1, championship Saturday at 1 p.m. Mojave, 9-2 versus Faith Baptist, 9-0. And Faith Baptist did quite a number on Cade School, located here in Carpinteria, just above in the Santa Ynez Mountains, near a place we call Shepherd's Mesa. And speaking of, another 8-man Division I surprise coming out of Santa Barbara, Laguna Blanca of Santa Barbara, California, 8-2. They're going to be playing Lancaster Baptist, 7-3. I believe that game is in Lancaster, and it looks like that time is going to be Saturday at 6 p.m. So watch your times. Be sensitive to those things. Check your local schools for times. And those of you that are dedicated to the CIF, those are your semifinal games for this week. Good luck to Dos Pueblos, Laguna Blanca, Santa Maria, and Santa Clara coming out of Ventura, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo County, what we affectionately refer to as the Tri-County area in this region of the country of Southern California. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and just move on to a couple of things. I already mentioned some scores from the NBA. We could go over some standings, but I won't do that right now. What I did want to focus on is some of the scoring for both the Clippers and the Lakers. The Lakers, once again, are 6-win. Wow. 6-10 on the year. Let's see. Let me make sure that's right. Actually, 8-10 on the year. 6-5 at Staples and 2-5 on the road. They currently hold the 8th slot in the Western Conference if the playoffs started today, which they don't. At any rate, the Lakers are currently playing the Sacramento Kings. We'll have some more information on that for you, perhaps on Friday when we come back. There will be no podcast for Thanksgiving Day, so I'm going through some stuff tonight. I'm going to come back on Friday. We're going to discuss some college football. We're going to discuss some other things that are on my mind. We're going to discuss the Rams and the Saints. The Saints coming into Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum this Sunday afternoon at 1:25 on an 8-game winning streak. They finally found a defense somewhere along the line, making Drew Brees look really good. He came back from a 15-point deficit last week to overhaul the hapless Washington Redskins, who will be playing on Thanksgiving Day. They're going to be playing the nightcap on NBC starting at 5:30 Pacific time. That's going to be a real sleeper. So if the tryptophan from your Thanksgiving Day turkey and the blood flow to your stomach with all that food loaded in won't put you to sleep, I'm sure that the 2-8 Giants and the Washington Redskins will put you to sleep. I wanted to address Kyle Kuzma, Pac-12 representative out of the University of Utah. He's averaging, this is as of Monday, 16.5 points a game, 6 rebounds, and about assist and a half. Brooke Lopez, and that's one thing I wanted to talk about. Brooke Lopez is a nice 20-10 guy, but he's definitely not a physical center. He's more of a finesse center. And unfortunately, he can't necessarily play with the big guns, as was evidenced a couple of nights ago when Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers, along with a very long and lanky Ben Simmons, 6'10", can play forward and guard, okay, at 6'10". They did a real number on the Lakers on the inside, leading the Lakers to a loss, a nationally televised loss, 115-109. I think I had a post in reaction on that game at accessmediaglobal.com. You can go to the latest news feed there, and you can definitely see it. You'll probably see a picture of the Lakers logo and a little caption for you in that respect. Brooke Lopez is averaging 15 points and 4 rebounds. Jordan Clarkson, kind of a forgotten man, but the savvy second or third year man, 15 points a game. I think he needs more playing time, but Luke Walton, when he has sat Lonzo Ball for the fourth quarters of games, he's definitely given an opportunity. He's given the aforementioned Clarkson an opportunity. Brandon Ingram averaging about 15 points a game, 14.8 points a game, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists. And then Larry Nance Jr., this is a disappointment for me. Larry Nance Jr. broke a thumb, and there's no telling when he's going to be back. Lonzo Ball, the number 1 pick, 9 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists for the Lakers. As far as the Clippers go, 5-11. They got off to a 4-2 start. They won tonight after a 9-game losing streak. They're going to be playing the Sacramento Kings on Saturday night. They're going to be playing the Lakers next week, and they will be playing the Sacramento Kings. So those are the next 3 games in that order for the Clippers. Now, as we said, Lou Williams got his first start, only his second start in the last 3 years. I don't understand why, for whatever reason, Lou Williams coaches have this mentality that he's better coming off the bench. I'm not really sure about that. I just know that Lou Williams is one of the few bright spots for the Los Angeles Clippers. So let's look at how the Clippers are scoring. I'm going to go over the first 4 for you, and we'll go from there. Blake Griffin, 22 points, 8 rebounds, and about 5 assists a game, 22-7, 7-8, and 4-7. I'm rounding up, people, so 23 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. The aforementioned sharpshooter Lou Williams, who's a real scorer, folks, 17 points a game, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists. Obviously, minus Danilo Gallinari, who was averaging about 13 points a game, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. Not Doc Rivers, but Austin Rivers, a son of Doc, is averaging 12.5 a game, but he really is not a point guard in my estimation. He can bring the ball up the floor, but he's probably more suited to a 2-guard. I will mention, we mentioned Patrick Beverley, out for the season now with a knee injury and had surgery today. The one guy that I want to put on the watch for you is Wesley Johnson. The last couple of games, Wesley Johnson has really began to play with heart defensively, and look for him to get more minutes just based on his effort alone. And then, of course, Cedarius Thornwell, young guy, 5 points, 1 rebound, and less than 1 assist per game. He's going to be seeing some more playing time. Cedarius, I believe Doc Rivers does really trust him, and he does have some pretty good basic skills. And then, of course, Milos Teodosic, the 30-year-old Serbian rookie, he has been out, and he's out with plantar fasciitis. So that's not anything you want to mess with. Very painful. Can't put your weight on it. It takes a long time to recover. So we're not necessarily going to see Milos Teodosic, the 30-year-old Serbian rookie, for quite some time. Okay, just wanted to go ahead and mention that Joe Pasternak of the UC Santa Barbara Gauchos, first-year coach. UC Santa Barbara played Montana in the Legends Classic Championship in Malibu, California, the home of Pepperdine. They were in the Legends Classic this week. Max Heidegger, who's been lighting it up, by the way, scoring a lot of points for UC Santa Barbara, 27. He and Leland King II, a 6'7" transfer from the University of Nevada, added 20 points for UC Santa Barbara, who's now 3-2, 2 straight wins. They could have beaten Pittsburgh, as I said yesterday. The Gauchos kind of snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. They were 10 of 22 at Reed Center in Pittsburgh, on the Pittsburgh campus there in ACC territory, to a place where they could have won the game, but they did not for the lack of a few free throws. Leland King II added 20 points for the Gauchos. Leland King can play. The Gauchos have been picked by the Big West media to finish 6th in a 9-team conference. So we will keep an eye on the local mid-major as they progress through the season. Prairie View A&M University on the 28th of November. You can go to my on-air page, find the Santa Barbara header as far as the top portion. Go to ucsbgauchos.com. Once again, the 3-2 Gauchos playing Prairie View A&M, returning home after an elongated road trip that sent them to Pittsburgh, Texas A&M, and, of course, Malibu to face the Waves. Not necessarily to face the Waves, but the Legends Classic tournament. So we're going to move on to some college. Actually, let's see. We're going to do some college picks, and I'm going to pick Thursday's games. Now, I'm not a big fan of Thursday night football, but because it is the holiday and because I'm in a reasonably magnanimous mood, I'm going to go ahead and give you the picks that I would take if I'm in Vegas, Las Vegas, Nevada, for legalized betting. This is what I would do, but, don't hold me to it. It's just something I do for fun, and we can talk about it. So as far as the college ranks on Friday, the Bruins, who are searching for that elusive coach, I mentioned Chip Kelley making a decision between the Florida Gators and the UCLA Bruins. We'll get to him at the very end of this podcast because I have some thoughts about what he might be thinking. I'm going to try to get into the head of Chip Kelley. Now, that may be a little dangerous. I'm not a sports psychologist necessarily, but I do have analytical skill. So these are just I'm just going to put out some thoughts regarding what might be good for Chip Kelley at UCLA and why he may or may not take the Florida or the UCLA job. Now, back to some of the odds here. These are Friday games. Mississippi State and Mississippi play on Thursday. The over-under is 64. I go ahead and take Mississippi State. However, I don't think I take the 16 points. I think that's a little bit on the high side. But do take Mississippi State over Mississippi, Mississippi State being the home team. The Bruins of UCLA finishing up against the Cal Bears. The over-under is 64. I have UCLA by 7. I go ahead and I take UCLA, but I don't take the 7. It's going to be more like 3. I probably take the under at 64. total points scored by both teams. The Horned Frogs of TCU and Baylor. Baylor's the underdog. TCU's favored by 24.5. The over-under is 51. I want to go ahead and take the over at TCU, but I definitely don't take the points at 24.5. Toledo, 13.5 point favorites over Western Michigan. I don't really like this game. I'm not going to necessarily touch it. I mean, if I was betting on it, I'd probably leave it alone. 62.5 is the over-under, and Toledo is favored over Western Michigan. So take Toledo, but don't take necessarily the points. Virginia Tech at Virginia. Another rivalry game. Virginia's the underdog. Take Virginia Tech and the 7 at this point. The over-under is 49.5. I'd take the over in that case. Northern Illinois at Central Michigan. The favored Central Michigan team. The Central Michigan team is the underdog. Northern Illinois, the favorite. Go ahead and take Northern Illinois and the 3. I'd probably take the under 53.5 in this game. Ohio University, 3.5 point favorites at Buffalo, 61.5. The over-under. I go ahead and take Ohio University and the over at 61.5. The Missouri Tigers, 10.5 point favorites at Arkansas. The over-under here is a bit high, 70. Take the under and Missouri for the home win. The San Diego State Aztecs are playing the University of New Mexico. San Diego State favored by 20, over under 48.5. I'd probably go ahead and take the over, but I don't take the points. I do not give San Diego State those 20 points. At Houston, out of the Conference USA, I believe, Navy, the midshipmen of Navy, 55.5 is the over-under. I go ahead and take Houston and the 4.5, but I take the under basically because Navy runs the run option, and what that does, because they don't really pass the ball that much, that limits possessions. So I would probably say that this game is going to be somewhere along the lines of about 24-17, 27-20, something along that line as Navy faces Houston in Houston. The Miami Hurricane. I mentioned the Miami Hurricane in reference to my stalwart nephew, Christopher Matthew Solis, who, despite the turnover chain, has been giving me a hard time. Uncle Mark, when are you going to talk about the Miami Hurricanes? Well, we're talking about them now. They're number 2, I believe, this week in the CFP poll. We're going to get to that in a moment. We'll be taking a look at some of those things later, probably on Friday's podcast. I'll go ahead and go over some of the things that I might expect out of the Final Four. Miami is favored at Pittsburgh by 14. The over-under is 51. Go ahead and take the over on this game, and I'd probably go ahead and take Miami, but Miami needs to be aware this might be a trap game. They might be looking ahead to the ACC championship, which is a matchup of another team that's in the college football playoff hunt, Clemson. Of course, Deshaun Watson leading Clemson to the national title last year. Clemson is right there again this year. What can I say? Let's get moving. Iowa at Nebraska. 53.5 points is the over-under. Iowa is favored by those 3 points. I probably go ahead and take the under, 53.5. Take Iowa and the under as far as that goes. Troy and Texas State. I go ahead and take Troy at this point. Take the over at 49.5. I'm not confident that the 24.5 point spread is going to be covered by Troy, so I wouldn't take it. And finally, Texas and Texas Tech. The over-under is 55 here. Texas favored by 10. I go ahead and take the over, but I don't take the 10 points. I just don't feel that Texas is going to cover the spread. We will get to the pro football for Thursday. This is Dallas and the underdog Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers have won 4 out of 6 games after an 0-4 start. This is a pick'em game. 47.5 is the over-under. I go ahead and I probably take the over and the Chargers in this case. The Minnesota Vikings in the hunt in the NFC with a great season by Case Keenum. I go ahead and I'm looking at this. 44.5 is the over-under. I go ahead and I'm going to go with Detroit for the win, even though odds makers have Minnesota as the underdog. I take the Lions with a Turkey Day, Thanksgiving Day victory. They play yearly. It's like tradition in Detroit. So let's go ahead and go to the final game. The sleeper, the snoozer of the evening at Washington, FedEx Field. The New York Giants, 2-8, having a terrible year. Expect that to continue. The over-under is 45. I'll go ahead and take Washington. I don't take the 7, though. I think it's going to be Washington more by about 3 or 4. The line is 7 right now. And I would also take the over. I expect Kirk Cousins to have a good game, shred the defense. The Giants really need help in some serious areas of play. Wanted to go ahead and just look at the conference standings in the NFL. The Rams are 7-3. The Seahawks, 1 game behind, 6-4 after their loss to Atlanta, followed by Arizona at 4-6, San Francisco at 1-9. The aforementioned Minnesota Vikings, who shellacked the Rams 24-7 last week, they're 8-2. And then Detroit is 2 games behind them, so Detroit really needs this Thanksgiving Day victory. Green Bay, minus Aaron Rodgers, 6-1, half dozen of the other. Green Bay is 5-5 right now. Bringing up the rear, Mitchell Trubisky and the Chicago Bears, 3-7. Now, the Bears are going to have a tough time this week because they're going to be facing the Philadelphia Eagles. I mentioned that Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints on an 8-game winning streak have outscored their opponents by, 106 points on the year. 8-2 New Orleans facing the Rams this week at the Coliseum, followed by Carolina, who's 7-3. Atlanta, the defending NFC champions, 6-4. Were lucky by about 2 yards from going into overtime in Seattle on Monday night. So Atlanta's 6-4, and the hapless Jameis Winston-led Buccaneers 4-6. Okay. In the East, we've already discussed Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles, 9-1. Bringing up the rear, the Dallas Cowboys, 5-5. The Washington Redskins, 4-6, and the New York Giants, 2-8. Now, the American AFC West, Kansas City, 6-4. I think they have a couple more losses in them. So I think they may slide to the back of the pack or slide down to the rest of the pack, I guess I should say. Kansas City is 6-4 right now. The Los Angeles Chargers are 4-6. Oakland, who was projected by everyone and me to be a threat to the New England Patriots out of the AFC, their season has fizzled for whatever reason. Not a good year in Oakland. Oakland's 4-6, and of course, Denver 3-7. Pittsburgh 8-2. Baltimore 5-5. Cincinnati 4-6. And the inept Cleveland Browns 0-10 under Hugh Jackson. So another tough year for Cleveland. This might be one of the reasons why USC Sam Darnold does not want to go to Cleveland, and he may be back next year to become a more complete quarterback for the USC Trojans. In the South, Jacksonville. Now, this is one of the surprise teams of the year. Their defense has really picked it up. They're 7-3 on top of the AFC South, followed by Marcus Mariota and the Tennessee Titans, 6-4. And then, of course, bringing up the rear, Houston, 4-6. Of course, Deshaun Watson lost for the remainder of the season with a knee injury. And then, of course, the luckless Andrew Luckless Indianapolis Colts are 3-7. And then, of course, in the East, the Buffalo Bills, if they hadn't if they aren't on a three-game winning streak, three-game losing streak, that is to say they've lost 3 in a row, they're giving New England a run for their money. But right now, we have New England at 8-2, Buffalo at 5-5, Miami at 4-6, and the Jets at 4-6. So, what can I say? This is the standings as they are occurring here, live, I guess you could say. So, for my final segment tonight, I'm going to discuss what I believe, maybe some of the psychology of Chip Kelley coming to UCLA or the Southeastern Conference, one of the Power 5 conferences, Florida Gators. Okay. Well, we all know that Chip Kelley earned his reputation at the University of Oregon. Essentially, Chip Kelley installed his own offense, running plays in like 20 seconds apart to keep opposing defenses and defensive personnel groupings off the field. And then, after success at Oregon, he gets hired to go to Philadelphia. Has a reasonably successful first year at 10-6, and then not so successful second year. Fired in the middle of the year due to some issues with his team, and whether this is true or not, it's a label that labels get put on people for the wrong reasons sometimes, and sometimes for the right reasons. I think Chip Kelley wanted his own guys. And I'm not going to say Chip Kelley was racially motivated, but when you have predominantly star black players who happen to be black and African American coming out and saying that Chip Kelley wanted to bring his own guys in, was not player friendly in Philadelphia, he had to go. And then, of course, he spent a hapless year coaching San Francisco. Now, to the point that UCLA has just given $12 million, which the boosters of the UCLA program will have to raise in the buyout contracts of Jim Mora Jr. After 5+ years, 46-30, he's gone. Dan Guerrero's searching around for a coach who can, number one, bring UCLA back to prominence. Chip Kelley might be that guy. But Chip Kelley is about Chip Kelley. So what I'm saying to you is some of the things that I've observed regarding Chip Kelley. Chip Kelley has an ego about the size of the Pacific Ocean. Large ego. He wants to come in, run the show his way, recruit his players, run his style of offense. But I'm not sure the boosters of UCLA are going to have that over the fact of the matter is they are a distant second to the USC Trojans as far as popularity, crowd response, and ticket sales, and all those good things that the University of Southern California has brought to the football landscape in the college ranks in Southern California. I believe Chip Kelley is all about Chip Kelley. So unless control of the UCLA program, for the most part, is ceded to Chip Kelly. In other words, given to him. I just don't see UCLA giving up that kind of power. Dan Guerrero may or may not be able to give him a contract that will be commensurate with the skills he thinks he has. Okay. And the reason I say that is that Chip Kelly's offense may not translate to a UCLA pro-style offense or pistol-type offense. UCLA had no running game this year. They're reliant on Josh Rosen to a fault. And then, of course, there's always the injuries that are going to take place. And there was a boatload. Any of you that saw the crosstown rivalry game last Saturday, USC, UCLA, there was a litany of injuries on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball for UCLA. Now, the other thought that I had regarding the psychology of why Chip Kelly would want the UCLA job, maybe he hasn't scored a settle with the folks in Eugene, Oregon, home of the Oregon Ducks. It's very possible that he would, because of his ego and because he's very, very self-focused, I believe. In other words, it's all about him and his offense and what he can bring to revolutionize the game. He might take the UCLA job just to be able to stick it to the University of Oregon on almost a year-to-year basis. I realize they rotate the schedules and all this stuff, but the fact of the matter is that he'd probably do it just to get even. So if he's holding a vendetta, if he's holding a huge grudge against the University of Oregon, you might see him introduced very shortly as UCLA's next head coach. Now, the Florida Gators have not been relevant since the back-to-back title games appearances by Tim Tebow in, I believe it was 2007, 2008, somewhere in there. If memory serves me correctly at this point. The fact of the matter is that there's another big ego in the SEC, and that big ego happens to be in Tuscaloosa with a person of Nick Saban. Now, the only guy that I know that has a bigger ego than Chip Kelly is Nick Saban, but as they say, I gotta give Nick Saban props. It isn't bragging if you can back it up. And boy, has Nick Saban backed it up. He has the largest contract in college football. I think Forbes magazine had his salary at something like $32 million a year, something like that, some astronomical number. But the bottom line is Nick Saban also has a big ego. And with the SEC network proliferating with the help of ESPN and is on my cable system, and I'm in Southern California, the SEC network, both the flagship channel and the alternate channel are on the Cox cable system here in Southern California. So what I'm saying to you is it might be nice. Chip Kelly might embrace the challenge of bringing the Gators back to prominence and being able to stick it to a guy like Nick Saban, just to say, I can do it, I told you so, and I have a better offense than you, I'm more of an ingenious mind than you, and all this stuff. So if I look at it, it all depends on what score Chip Kelly wants to settle. It also depends on how big an inflated ego Chip Kelly has, because he might think he's going to restore the Florida program, bring it back to prominence. He may be at UCLA saying, well, I want to take the Oregon Ducks to the cleaners, clean their clocks, screw them over, or whatever, okay? So these are the kind of decisions that I think will be discussed over the Thanksgiving table. So by, I think, next Tuesday, we're going to have an announcement coming out of Westwood regarding that. So we will see. But the fact of the matter is this is going to be very, very interesting. And it's all based on Chip Kelley's ego and which program he thinks he can single-handedly bring back. But remember, there's no I in team. I is all about self-glorification. I is all about you. I is all about what you think you can do. But the fact of the matter is, we're going to see what Chip Kelley decides very, very soon. And that is going to wrap up this edition of the podcast. I could have gone for another 30 minutes, but seeing as how it's very late in the evening across the United States, except for on the West Coast, where it's 17 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour right now, I'm going to put this to bed. But I'm going to be back on Friday. I'm going to take Thanksgiving off, kick back, watch some football. We'll be addressing some football. We're going to be addressing more of the Lakers, the Clippers. We're going to talk about the Rams and their failure so far to stop the run. The Rams, just to give you a little tease, we're going to talk about the Rams on Friday. The Rams have given up 122.3 yards a game rushing. Mark Ingram might have a field day at the Coliseum on Sunday at 1:25 Pacific Standard Time in the afternoon. Check your local listings, folks. Get your popcorn because that's going to be fun. Okay, the thing is, though, that ranks 28th. That 122.3 yards given up by the Los Angeles Rams ranks 28th in the NFL. Basically, the Rams can't stop the run. When you're only better than two other teams in the entirety of the NFL, Sean McVay, you got a problem. And that could be exploited on Sunday afternoon. I'm Mark Chanish. You can join me on accessmediaglobal.com. You can join me on Stitcher. Happy to have you guys along on Stitcher Radio. Rate the podcast if you like it. You can bring your feedback to the contact page at accessmediaglobal.com. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Despite every circumstance and despite some setbacks in 2017, I'm blessed to be with you, blessed to be broadcasting, podcasting, and doing my thing on accessmediaglobal.com for your sports enjoyment. Have a great Thanksgiving in the United States. And those of you around the world, you're going to hear back from me on Friday with some more fun stuff, some more opinions and thoughts on sports. For now, I'm Mark Chanish, and this has been the From the Bench podcast for November 22nd, 2017. Once again, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We'll see you on Friday, November 24th. Good evening, everyone.